I remove myself from the big-eared stranger's presence and make my way ahead of them both, but not before stopping beside his mystified female companion and inquiring about her saintly outburst back there in that skirmish. There was a moment during the first session where she had the cultist of Plapindo choked up with a sword at his neck, and she was reciting, what seemed like religious verses. Reciting verses that speak of natural order, the meta black, and responsibility. She seems to have some knowledge about the meta black, responsibility, and natural order. I'm curious as to what that could possibly mean. Let alone, their faction. They both have insignias on them, symbols resembling the half of a spherical celestial body encompassing a star, which within itself held a small bell. So first, let me ask, what on earth was she talking about? Do you always prefer a drizzle of blood over the lips to moisten your sermon? I ask. Using RPG solo, what does she say? Return/failure. She was reciting verses that spoke of natural order, the meta black, and responsibility. The natural order of things within the meta black are complete chaos. Whatever you see is what you discover. It's all random. There's no order. That's the natural order. And it's her responsibility. So when I ask her about that, what does she mean by that? She says return/failure. She says that she can't fail. It's her duty. There's no room for failure in returning things to the natural order. Her eyes laser into mine and cease to blink for an entire moment as she begins to speak of her obligation to lacerate the vines of extravagant entitlements away from the divine mural of pandemonium which we face during every breath, annihilating exceptions created by wicked craft and rebalancing the scales of perpetual uncertainty. I give her an eyebrow. I think I understand. She hated to see others prosper by way of anything that wasn't provided by their deity, which is unfortunate because if I could, I would summon a fresh wellspring under my feet. But because the meta black had already determined no such thing exists before me, I should accept my thirst. I'll need to distance myself from them once we reach civilization, or she'll learn to hate me very fast. Just to make sure I understand, I asked her, well, what do you mean by the natural order? Can you elaborate? And what does she say? Extravagance business. She began to appear suspicious of me, but you could tell she really wanted to explain and get through to me. According to her, anything that happens to us in the black is one's true path. A path carved through the meta black's absolute yet undetermined path for you. The natural order. Adversaries conspire against nature and attempt to change their fate, she says. And it is us who ensures they remain on the plain and narrow, whichever direction they wish, nothing more, nothing less. Okay. And I guess manifesting fiendish bowguns forged from the deep love and admiration they have for you and yours. I assume that isn't head-on enough for you. Or, I'm sorry, plain and narrow, as you would say. She folds her arms and listens. It's no less extravagant than your swordplay. You were getting busy out there. It was quite the spectacle. But we all don't dance with steel, she interrupts. Everyone inherits their measure of might, and it is we who measures the measuring tools of measurers. Her posture begins to change, and she slowly turns her toe toward me. I should relax. I'll endure her prejudice for now, but what does she think she is? And I ask, well, what exactly Why is it your business? Does she respond? You know what I mean? Like, why is it your duty? Who are you? I'm gonna ask that next, but why is it your business? Does she answer my question? I'm gonna say likely. Yes. What'd she say? Open magic. So, open magic. There is no I don't know. There is no magic in this world yet. There's something like magic. Now, we referred to this already, that there's something that is like magic, but it's not magic yet. And now it's being referred to again. So it might be time to get a little more information on that. What is this magic? Kukuli lavish. Sounds to me like it's some sort of lifestyle or way of thinking. Is it a lifestyle or a way of thinking? I'm gonna say somewhat likely. Yes. Is it a practice? Like a skill? I'm gonna say 50-50. No. So it's a belief. Very likely. Yes. Whoever this group is that she's a part of, they are for the chaos of the Meta Black. And it's their business when people try to have these extravagant plans and ways to do anything that would go against that. Now, is this her way of thinking? Is it the entire faction that thinks like this? Or is it or is it a religion that she's a part of? I'm gonna say very likely. Yes. Is she a splinter group that just follows this religion? I'm gonna say likely. Exceptional, yes. Do her beliefs reflect the entire group's beliefs? I mean, I don't think I would know that, would I? Maybe I'll leave that alone. So I ask, and what is the belief? What is the belief? How do you follow the Meta Black? How do you keep things the way the Meta Black intended? Is following the Meta Black interfering with chaos? Is that just going with the flow? Is that just kind of living life and taking everything on the chin? I'm gonna say likely. Yes. Random event. Introduce a new NPC. Attract/legal matters. And the answer was yes to that question. It sounds to me like she's implying, when I think of legal matters, I'm thinking of judging. Her faction, her unit they are given the responsibility of being the judges of this religion and judging who is correctly living their life, who is living against the odds. Let me see who this new NPC is. This character is not connected to this plot line. Okay, so this character is tied to the religion but has nothing to do with this plot line. So she's in this plot line is getting to the South City Sand Harbor, South Harbor, my rule. But this NPC that comes up in the conversation, maybe this is the god. Maybe this is the god. Is this person some sort of deity? Somewhat likely. Yes. Is it the Meta Black? Yes. So she's referring to the Meta Black. They are the judges of the Meta Black. Huh. So I feel like they, in all honesty, what I'm hearing is that they believe anything that has to do with affecting a person's odds of survival, that's fancy, it's bad. It's against the rules. I don't think I'm going to be asking them about my other boon rock here. No, sir. At least not now. But I don't think I like them. I feel like they are potentially a threat to me. I can't let them know that I have these runes. These boon rocks. I'm gonna add the Meta Black as an NPC, but is this NPC a do they refer to the Meta Black as a person? 50-50. Yes. Is it a single person? Likely. Yes. Are they alive? Likely. No. And by alive I meant like walking around like a king. Are they the darkness? Likely, very likely. So the meta black itself is a thing. It's a being. Is it a being? Is it living? Unlikely. Exceptional, no. Has it ever lived before? Unlikely. No, so it just is. Is it energy? Is it supernatural in nature? Very likely. Yes. Alright. So I get that much from the conversation. I'm not going to roll anymore. I'm not about to sit here and go too far into asking them about this god, because I don't want to trigger them. I don't want to get them all riled up. So I do know that the Meta Black is a force, a living force that just is. Does only this big-eared race believe in the Meta Black? Is it only this race that believes in the Meta Black like this? Does everyone interpret the Meta Black the same way these big-eared people do? I'm gonna say unlikely. I'm gonna say very unlikely. And by everyone, I mean everyone in this goddamn world. Yes. So everyone has a common understanding that the Meta Black is a force of chaos and uncertainty. Does she ask me anything after I ask all these questions? I feel like there's a slight possibility that either of them would ask anything. I'm gonna say somewhat likely. Yes. And what do they ask me? Assist and joy. I interpret this as she asks me, do I assist in their joy of pursuing things that would shame or go against the Meta Black or the way of living the Meta Black? She asks me if I believe in anything like that, and I'm honestly gonna have to lie, because I think the boon rocks, even though I have a boon rock lodged in my head, does she say anything about the boon rock lodged in my head? That's probably why she's asking, like, because I look suspect. She's probably like, I've never seen a being like this before. Like, what is this person about? You know? I'm gonna lie and say that I don't. And in a way, it's kind of the truth, because I don't know anything about this religion. But based off of what I'm learning, I would like to think that they probably would have a problem with the boon rocks that I have, as they do give me the capability to survive the odds. So I'm gonna lie. Contend with obstacles of life using the hand you were dealt, and the judges will have no quarrel. You know very little regarding the nature of the reality gifted to you. Do strangers from your homeland partake in such extravagance? She asks, as she stares into the perpetulux embedded in my head. Her companion's ears perk up as he tunes in for my response. I hesitate to answer the loaded question, but my answer would be obvious. Of course not. And I'm pretty sure this should go against her passive intuition. I'm going to say her passive intuition. You know, on the topic of this, I'm going to roll potency. for her intuition. How great is her intuition? Strong. On a scale of minimum to weak to less to baseline to more to strong to maximum, the intuition is pretty up there. My ability to lie, I'm gonna say, is governed by. It's gonna be governed by intuition. No, it's gonna be governed by intelligence. My intelligence is above average. Because lying is I feel like it's a natural skill. I'm not going to give myself a -2 rank shift penalty for having an untrained lying skill. I think everybody can lie. You can lie at the age of 2. You know, a lying skill is going to be something that bolsters your lies. No different than if you're trying to intimidate someone. You don't need to learn how to intimidate people. Some people, you can just intimidate people. So I'm going to give myself a 1 rank shift penalty. So I'm going to go from above average to average. And I'm doing that. I'm giving myself 1 rank shift penalty because I feel that someone of her stature and from her line of work would have a very imposing kind of inquisitor vibe that she's bringing to the table that could rattle me a little bit. So I'm gonna say that. So I'm gonna give myself a -1 rank shift penalty. And with her strong potency in matters of intuition, I'm going to say that her rank is probably high. She probably has a high intuition. So I'm going to lie and say that no, I will not be assisting anyone in not living the way of the meta black. And I say it just like that because I don't fully understand the religion, and she's crazy. Does she buy it? Yes. Let's go. Yes. That's a nice roll. 11. Random event. Remote event. Judge. Anger. A remote event is something that's happening somewhere else off scene. And by this event happening, it's happening just to show me that this is happening all over the world with these people. She's not the only one that's around the world, you know, enforcing the meta black and its tenets. I personally hate being attacked by strangers. If I was capable of conjuring weapons, you would have seen a bigger sword. I wiggle my sword in its sheath. She stares into my eyes, assessing my response. If it weren't for my amnesia, she certainly would have seen through me. But I had a basis for my sincere and authentic ignorance that I was able to lean into. Perhaps I was a liar in another lifetime. I don't know. That was a pretty good lie. I lied to an inquisitor. How would you describe the name of this faction? Violently quaint. Attractively unusual or old-fashioned. So, very murder mobbish. I'm getting like murder mob vibes. They're old-fashioned. Judges. Magistrates. Jurat. A person who has taken an oath or who performs a duty on an oath. Ooh, a jurat. What is jurat in Samoan? Jurat. Polish. Jurata. I like that. Polish. In Polish, a jurat is jurata. A jurat is someone is a synonym for judge, someone who has an oath. We're gonna call him the black jurata. We're gonna call him the jurata, 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 After dodging that bullet, I then ask, who were those people and why, first off, who were those people? The cult of Plapindo? What was the magic that they were using? What was the crafts that they were using back there? She says they've invested much of their blasphemous craft and they carry it with them with honor. They both grimace at the mention of Plapindo. She explains the power they wield and conjure from thought and thin air. An investment of their emotion, a price unpayable, souls irredeemable, and so on. Her fist clenches, and I see she too does not understand their craft beyond nonsensical hyperbole. Why are they chasing you out of here? What business do y'all have here? Is this their territory? I'm gonna say unlikely. Definitely not. I'm assuming that this land used to belong to them. Now, did it belong to them and to the faction, or the religion? Who did it belong to? Did it belong to, like, how personal is it? Did it belong to the faction? I'm gonna say 50-50. Yes. Damn, so who runs this faction that they own this whole entire plot, this whole land? Is there a sole person that runs this faction? I'm gonna say likely. Yes. All right, get them in here. Who is this person? Do they tell me who this person is? That's the question. Do they tell me who this person is? I'm gonna say unlikely. No. Well, what does she say instead? Triumph randomness. She diverts from the question and talks about their triumphants, their past triumphs. The purpose of the Gerada seems too heavy for just you two. Who leads the greater group? I ask. She pauses, and the two look at each other. We Triumph is an arm of the Meta Black, an arm greater than the sum of its parts. Politely, I asked them about, their people. I've noticed that their anatomy in that fight was a bit different. I asked them about what they are. Do they enlighten me? I'm going to say very likely. Yes. So they have big ears. I rolled ears twice. So I wanted to put a lot of emphasis on how big their ears are. I also rolled amorphous. And on the amorphous table, I rolled on the amorphous table on Creature Crafter, using Creature Crafter, I rolled amorphous. And amorphous on the amorphous table, I rolled simple shape. So that's as amorphous as it is, it forms a simple shape, and I decided that simple shape was going to be a humanoid shape. This race, they utilize a simple humanoid shape, but they still retain the traits of amorphous, where their body does give, it can mold, and as we saw, it can be used as a defense mechanism. They also have big ears, like I said. So I looked up some words, and I'm diving into the etymology of ear. And I landed on a word called argil. Argil meaning clay, especially potter's clay. So now I'm looking for something for ears. I have a word that I want to play around with that represents the amorphousness of their bodies. Argil is a really neat word. I like argil. But now I'm trying to think of the word that we can play on their ears. I'm looking for maybe something like moldable ear. Molding ear. Morphing ear. I like that argilla is something that is like clay, something that is moldable. And then sound can represent something that is secure, but it also is a play on sound and their big ears. So something that is secure and still mixed with something that is the exact opposite. Let me look for some sound, words that have to do with sound. Ear in Polish is ucho or klos. Ucho.
Ucho.
Ucho. Ucho.
Ucho.
Ucho. So ucho means ear in Czech, Polish, and Slovak. Ucho.
Clay. Argila. Argila. Argila.
Ucho.
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 Ucho. So ear in Polish is ucho. So ucho. Ucho. I like that by itself. Ucho. The ucho. The ucho. The ucho. Ucho. U-C-H-O. Ucho. Massive-eared, malleable-bodied humanoids in stark contrast to their fine and precise facial structures. I imagine this race to have like a very simple humanoid bodies that move and are very clay-like under all that armor, but their faces are nothing such. Their faces are very normal, very fine, typically attractive, and well put together. But their body is a whole nother story. And their ears are humongous and they go out horizontally. Ucho. And I noticed that that the cult of Plapindo, they were also Ucho. They were also Ucho. But a little bit different. So what's up with that? How come they don't believe what you believe? Does she answer? I'm gonna say likely. No. What about him? Does he say anything? I look at him. Does he say anything? I'm gonna say unlikely. Exceptional, yes. Intolerance, animals. It seems your people are split on a soul belief system. How does that come about? She says nothing. Her companion, however, can't seem to contain himself, and in an outburst of intolerance, declares their entire brood to be cancerous animals. I could see that there was zero respect for each other, and absolute hate. It's not much, and I'm not buying it completely. She didn't say anything, so she was hesitant to say anything, and he said that they were just intolerant animals. They did look like animals, so I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of animals, and I say that in character, I say that in character. I say, yeah, I condolences for your mount back there. They slaughtered that thing. Now we need to figure out what that was, because it wasn't a horse, because the horses don't exist. So, first I want to say condolences for his creature. I want to see how he reacts. I want to know how close they are to their beast companions. Mysteriously classy. Okay, so I take that as he does care about it. Very professional about it. All right, let's roll with what these creatures are using the creature crafter. So we know it's an animal. I'm gonna roll its potency. Baseline average. Okay. What is its size? Creature size 65. So it's human sized. Okay, it's normal sized. All right, let's roll on the animal table. I'm gonna roll 2d100s to boot. Just to start, I'm gonna roll 2d100s. 48 and 63. 48, 63. Hopping. Perfect, because it's a mount. Hopping. And then 63. Mammalian. Okay. It's mammalian, so it can give birth, and it probably has fur, and it probably produces milk. Or something like that, the equivalent. Sounds kind of cute. Whatever it is, it hops. It's a mammalian. It must be very powerful, have very powerful legs to be nearly our size and carry us and still be able to hop. So keep that in mind. But if you made it this far, drop a trait or 2 or 3 that coincides with mammalian, human-sized, and a hopper in the comment section. And I'm going to select the ones that everyone liked the most, the one with the most likes. If there isn't one that has the most likes, then I would choose. And if there's no comments at all, then I'll revisit this and I'll flesh it out later on. But I think this has a potential to be the mascot of Peoplz and Dragons, like a chocobo, except not. My people, thanks for watching and joining me on this little world building segment. Always want to take a moment to flesh out these discoveries before progressing, and I believe it could be done in a cohesive way. I could easily sit here and world build, workshop it, but I find narrative value in turning it into these little story segments of interaction between characters and NPCs in the setting, and maybe even a little self-reflection. But now that we have identified a local species of NPC, a local religion, and even potentially a local antagonist faction, it's important to keep these new concepts in perspective of any future context to ensure that it all melts together harmoniously. Which tends to happen when using Mythic. Tana Pigeon of World Mill Games is a patron saint of geniuses for creating such a system, but I digress. With world building all done, I can now progress on my journey, and will be doing so via live stream. So, it's going to be my first time doing that. I'm going to do a couple test runs before I really jump out the window, but I hope to see you there. Don't have a specific time yet, intentionally, but we'll see what happens. Peace.